The DS Incubator continues on the series about testing our code, and today we are going to be talking about a different workflow from the one that we saw last time. Last time it was a test-driven development workflow. Today we're going to be working with code coverage as a way to guide our work. In particular, this demo will be about working with code that has already been written and we want to refactor it, preserving its current behavior. And before we can safely do that, we need to ensure that the code that we are about to touch is already covered by tests. So code coverage is this idea that you can analyze the code to see which lines are covered and which lines are not. So the package that supports that is the cover package, and you could call cover report cover package coverage. So you could do that, and I'm going to show you in a moment how to do that in an easier way. But with that, you get this report where you see which lines of code are tested. In this case, it's 100% covered. So that's not what I was expecting. So let's open the test file. So use test. There you go. So this is the test file associated to this to this function called load file, which is the one that we're going to be working with. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to degrade the tests to show you how I can let's say that this package only has one test. Let's run them. There they are. And now let's run the report again. This time, instead of doing this call, I'm gonna use the command prompt, Shift Control P, and start typing report test, and there you go. Report test coverage for a package or for a file. Let's do it for a package. So that's the command prompt. The command prompt is pretty convenient. I encourage you to use it. You have to have a quite recent version of RStudio though. So now we re-executed the report, and now you can see that the coverage dropped to 50%. So we have degraded the test coverage because I wanted to show what the world looks like when some lines are covered and some lines aren't. Actually, to make it even more exciting, I'm gonna switch these things a little bit so that you can see like more clearly where things are. So let's do this report again. This time, you saw it running very quickly. What I did is I used a keyword shortcut that I associated to basically to the function, to this, something similar to this function, blah, 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 not that one. So how you do that? Well, one you can again use the commands palette. Actually, that's the name of this thing, and you can start typing shortcuts, for example, and there you will have the modified keyword shortcuts. So there is where you can associate report. You can associate a particular action to a particular keyword shortcut. You just stand here on this shortcut column or cell intersecting the shortcut and the one adding that you want to associate to a shortcut, and then just press the keys. Pretend that you're actually writing the shortcut, and those keys are going to be typed there automatically for you. So I did that already, but I encourage you to do it because it is a pretty convenient tool, and if you integrate it in your workflow, you're going to be doing it repeatedly, so having a keyword shortcut is quite convenient. However, the command palette is also quite, report file, that's also quite convenient too. So in this case, I'm not running the coverage tool for the entire package, but just for the active file. In this case, it shows the same thing because this package is a toy package that has just that one function. So what I want to show is that, okay, the lines in red are not covered by tests, meaning that if I refactor those lines in a silly way, for example, the line that reads a CSV file. So if I broke that thing with, say, stop, oh no, that function won't work with CSV files, of course, and yet my tests pass. Why? Because there is no test actually touching that line right here. So instead, if let's do the same thing here. So if I break the TSV feature, right? So, oh no. Oh no. And if I run my tests, now my tests do complain because that one line here, and line, this one, is covered by tests, right? So that all means that, before I start touching any line to do refactoring, and it's really important to know if it's covered or not by tests, and this test coverage tool is extremely useful. So let's go back to that. So the one thing I would do then, if I need to refactor this function, is to just start covering the lines that are missing here. So let's work with this one line first, line 5. So I need a test to test this TSV functionality. Easy, I have one that does. Sorry, the CSV functionality. Easy, I have one that does that for the TSV. So let's just copy paste that and do it with the CSV, for which we need to change a few things here, and here is going to be a comma. And that's it, I think. So let's run the tests. Let's run the report again. I expect the report to increase the coverage. So that one line needs to be covered now. It is, right? So if I now do something silly, I could confirm, right, the CSV by doing a stop. Oh, no. If I run test, I should get an error, right? Yes, there it is. Good. So it's safe now, right? So if I refactor this bit, we should be good to go. How I could refactor it? Well, there's many ways. Let's say that I want to replace that if thing there eventually with a switch statement. So I could do if switch, if extension is CSV, then what I want to happen is this thing. Of course, it is redundant to do this if and this this switch statement here. But let's see what happens if I because I want this to execute there and here. So switch, and let's do that. Okay, so let's see if this is doing what I think it is doing. So I refactor that little first bit. I have been very aggressive there, and no, the reason is that this switch thing doesn't do anything, and then this keeps going all the way to the bottom. So it's not working. I needed that if statement still before I can continue my refactoring and see if this does work. Yes, okay. So as you can see, I can be very aggressive in my refactorings once the tests are covering the chunk that I need to work with. So now I want to inject this bit into the switch statement, and I can do it quite safely because that line that I want to touch was this one here. It was used to be 9, now it's now line 14, but nevertheless it's the same thing, right? So what I need to do now is to move this bit here, right? We're just gonna move it in here. If this is a TSV, right? And now the condition here is not just if this is identical to TSV, but I want to kind of focus on this section if this is a TSV or if it's identical to a TSV as well. So I can remove now this chunk, right? And let's keep going. Test pass. So that was good. So this bit here, the stop statement, notice that it's not covered by test. So if I do something silly there, if I say hi, that's that's very silly. The function won't throw an error when the extension is not what I want, and the tests are not warning me about that. So I can let me undo that. So the first thing I need to do is to cover that little bit with a test. Easy to do. It's pretty straightforward. We add a test that says error says gracefully, and what we do is we just expect an error, right? So we do expect error, and when we call load file with something silly, blah, what we expect is that an error basically. So the expectation goes here, invalid file. I expect that message that we saw here, invalid file, right? So if I now write my tests, it's all good. If I now run my report, Shift Control R, I'm pressing here, you see that my function is covered 100% and that line is now covered. So that's safe, because I could, if I do something silly now, like for example saying hi, now my tests should fail, right? Knowing that now, and then I will know that I have indeed done something silly. So let's confirm that it's all good. So now it's safe to refactor this line. I'm gonna move it in here. I need to add a comma here. This function will fail because this condition enters basically only when the extension is known. So if I can say if true, so that I always enter this condition, now my function works, but then that's not what I want. So now that I have the switch statement written correctly, I can remove this thing and restructure this, right? So this is my final refactoring. So now notice how my speed of refactoring and my aggressiveness of refactoring has increased accordingly with the test coverage. So when this report tells me that the lines are covered, then I can be very aggressive, just knowing that the safety net that the tests add will protect me from doing something stupid. All right, that was all I wanted to show you today.